everybody. So I've started my third round of IVF. Now this is a stimulated cycle, so full-on injections and everything. And I realized that I haven't really posted about what I did in preparation for that. So I had mentioned previously that I had surgery. So I had surgery again to see if my endometriosis had come back, and unfortunately it had. I had moderate nodules there and more cysts on my ovaries, which the doctor removed. And he was telling me that the highest chance of success of IVF is within the 4 months of surgical removal of the endometriosis. I had read previously that your highest chance for fertility, or best chance, is in the first 6 months, but he said it's actually 4. So anyways, he wanted to get me all cleaned out. And I also got tested for natural killer cells, which mine were high. So, you know, it's nice to get some answers, but it's also discouraging to get more bad news. So as soon as surgery was done, because he removed those cysts off my ovaries, he put me on testosterone for a month. And that has been an interesting experience. So I just wanted to share with you how I felt on the testosterone. Gosh. You have to laugh. It's obviously a hormone that I've never tried before, and I had a little taste of what it's like to be a guy. Just barely. Not even close. Just a tiny, tiny little itty bitty taste. So the testosterone made me hot. You know, I definitely found that I was running at a hotter temperature. I found that I was, I could tell the difference in my metabolism. The first thing that I noticed, other than the rise in body temperature, was that my bowels started moving more regularly, which is very interesting because I've always wondered why boys go to the toilet more than girls. And, you know, I always knew that it was hormonally related, but I didn't actually realize that taking a little bit of testosterone would change my bowels. So I went from, you know, on a good day for a woman, you know, you go once a day, and I was going twice a day. And I was like, is this what guys do? Is this because of testosterone? Like, anyways, that was very interesting. Something else is I could feel myself getting a little bit angrier. Like, I definitely just kind of felt more feisty than normal. And I was really loving fighting a bit more. And I am, okay, I'm gonna admit, I'm a bit of a fighter. My husband will tell you that. But I always get sad when we fight. Like, we fight, and I am a fighter, but then I'm always like, I'm so sad that we fight. Whereas on the testosterone, I was like, oh yeah, this feels good. Let's do this. And so I was enjoying the confrontation, and I was really enjoying the fighting. And I had a couple situations with a couple friends and family members where I addressed stuff that I had never addressed before in my life. And it felt so good. I literally just wanted to do it. I was like, you know what? Let's talk about this right now. I want to talk about this, and let's bring this up. Come on, bring it on. And I was really invigorated by it. I was like, yeah, this feels so good. Oh my gosh. So anyways, I was like, taste of what my husband feels like. Now, I'm not saying all guys are like this. Obviously, there's personality types and temperaments, but in general, compared to my baseline as a woman, on the testosterone, I was more feisty, and I enjoyed the altercations. I actually enjoyed it. I was not scared off by it, and it kind of gave me an adrenaline rush. And there were some conversations that happened that needed to be happened. So it was all very good, very healing. And quite an enjoyable experience. I would have liked to have known if I had exercised more, except that when I was on the testosterone, I was on the first month after my surgery. So I was recovering from surgery, so I was still having quite a bit of pelvic pain and just pain in general, and I didn't really have the ability or the energy to really do more exercise. So I don't know, I probably could have. Toward the end of the month, we went for a really long hike and hiked up some mountains that had some parts of it that were rock climbing, and gosh, that felt good. And I had more energy than normal. So, you know, a part of this was like, you know, it was nice to get a little taste of what guys feel like, but I was kind of annoyed by them as well. I was like, seriously? You know, you guys have no idea what we go through as women. No clue. I'd love to give you some estrogen, make you a little bit teary, make your nipples sensitive. Oh, so that's another thing. This is rated R, by the way. So, and I'm a nurse and a midwife, so I'm a bit open about these sort of things. So it is what it is. So testosterone literally was like, oh, you've got nipples and a bajayjay? I really don't care. So my nipples kind of shriveled up. And my bajayjay down there, I'm just going to do it in medical terms. There was quite a bit of dryness because testosterone just really doesn't care about me being a woman. Just really didn't care. So that's some of the medical side effects that I noticed. Like, this isn't from research. This is obviously my own personal experience. But it does make sense now why with the nipple sort of tensing and kind of shriveling up, you can understand now when you see guys that have sort of that estrogen dominance, where you see that they have kind of, I guess you can say, man boobs, and you can see that their nipple is quite soft and full, and that is a lack of estrogen. And so a lack of testosterone and more of that estrogen dominance. So I noticed now that having the testosterone was like, and I was like, oh, that's what testosterone does. There you go. Very interesting. Something else that I noticed was my sense of smell changed. So I didn't smell things as much. And I found that very interesting because as a woman, especially during certain times of the cycle, you find that you're very, very sensitive to scents. And you know it's all hormonally based, but to actually have the testosterone where I didn't really smell the rubbish as much, or even my husband, BO and things like that. Like I was like, wow, this is what guys experience, except they have a lot more testosterone than I had a taste of. So I was like, they are literally dulled in the olfactory senses, and maybe that's part of the way that men are supposed to be, so they can get grungy and dirty together and work outside and sweat and work in the trenches, and it doesn't bother them. Like, it just makes so much more sense now. They were built that way. They were built to have that resilience and to not be bothered by it because they worked outside, whereas women need to be more sensitive, and they need to be more sensitive to themselves and their children to be able to pick up on things. And I am just amazed by the power of hormones, and throughout this entire journey, it's the power of hormones that has fascinated me the most, because you think that you're a certain way, or you think that you have a certain, temperament, or a certain, that you're not moody, or you think that you're not feisty, and then you take hormones that completely change who you are and makes you question. You're like, wait a minute, is this who I really am? Like, am I really this way, or is it just the hormones? Like girls that have been on birth control for years and years and years, and they're like, oh, I'm a really stable person, I don't have any emotional up and downs. And then they come off birth control and they're going through the natural cycles of, the monthly cycle, the menstrual cycle, and then they're saying to me, this is so weird for me. I am not moody. This is not me. And then I say, as a midwife, well, it actually is. Like, you just have not experienced those natural up and downs and those natural cycles of estrogen and progesterone that are supposed to happen. Now, of course, I've experienced those extremes where your hormones are so out of control that I've been almost hospitalized for it. And that, my friends, is not normal, and you need to do something about that. But the natural cycles where you feel quite good the first half of the month, and the second half of the month you're not feeling that great, it's just the power of hormones. They're so powerful. They control so many things. And then one last thing was, it was quite funny because my brother-in-law, who's a doctor, actually asked me, he said, did you find yourself checking out women? And I was like, oh, no, I didn't notice that at all until I actually thought about it. And then I realized, so I was in Sydney waiting for the train, and I noticed on the wall there was like this big blown up picture of this woman in a bikini. And normally as a girl, I would check out the bikini and be like, oh, that's a really cute bikini. Like, that's super cute. Or whatever. I don't know what And instead, I was like looking at the skin and just going, whoa. That picture is ginormous and it's very provocative. How much skin is, wow, wow. And then I was just kind of like checking out her boobs and checking out the rest of her body. And I was like noticing how much skin, instead of the bathing suit, I was noticing how much skin was actually exposed and how big it was in front of my face. And I've never done that before. So I found that very interesting. And I didn't notice it until he said to me, have you checked out girls more? And then I was like, you know, I probably have. I just wasn't conscious of it because it was an unconscious thing. And they said, you know, and my brother-in-law, my husband, and some other friends, they were sitting there and they're like, seriously, welcome to our life. Like, we literally, everywhere we go, you're just like not looking. You know, there's just advertisements everywhere and women everywhere, and you're just trying so hard to not even look. And I was like, wow. Anyways, there's quite a bit more, but I'll put that on my blog post. But in order to keep this video shorter, I just wanted to give a little summary of my month on testosterone. So essentially the month was to keep my ovaries calm for a month because he wanted them to rest after he'd taken that cyst off my ovary before we started the stimulated cycle, before they grew to ginormous size. And also there is some people have used testosterone to increase embryo quality, but that's not really, I think there's some controversy around that, and that's not the main purpose that he was using it for. But anyways, it was very interesting to have 1 month of the tiny taste of what a man feels like, and I hope that one day in the future, men will get a tiny taste of what it's like to be us. That's it. Good times. Gotta laugh. All right. I'll give you guys an update later. Bye.